프로그램이 엄마 카페에 있었니?
아니, it's webcam. So, webcam.
아, 그러니까 웹캠을 구동하는 프로그램이 어디 있어?
내가
왜?
나중에 보여줄게. You have been recorded.
sorry.
So, where did you live in Germany and when did you live there?
In 1980 to 81, I lived in West Berlin.
Was it difficult to settle in a foreign nation or was it okay?
Not really because I've been to many other countries before, so I've been used to settling down in new environment. And West Berlin is a very modern, nice city. So it's okay.
Because you lived there during the Cold War and there was a lot of political tension and political vulnerability in the nation, how did it feel to live in such a unique nation? Because that kind of situation doesn't come out a lot in world history.
Yeah. Yes, I think it was the height of the Cold War period in Berlin. It was pretty tense, and the atmosphere pretty gloomy. It felt like 다시 해도 되지 이거 어차피. 응.
다시 물어보죠.
응.
Uh, Nation states with the kind of situation that West Germany and East Germany had doesn't come out a lot in world history. So, how did it feel to live in a country with such political tension and vulnerability?
Yeah. Well, because I come from Korea, where we have tensions of our own between South and North. I half expected what it's like to be, um, but once I got there, I could feel the tension between the East and West in almost everyday lives.
In everyday lives, like what instances could you give us? Maybe some examples.
For examples, I had a friend who attended my school, but he was commuting from East Germany because his parents wanted him to study in the West. And I could hear all these stories about East Germans in East Berlin.
So, did the Berliners generally think of themselves as one culture, or did they consider themselves divided?
No, I think they consider themselves one people and largely one nation, but politically divided.
Because you were there as a child, how much did you
child
know?
아니지.
Teenager.
Yeah, I was senior in high school. Who's
어차피
gonna edit
하여튼
it?
잘라서 내가 에디트해야 돼. So it doesn't really matter. Mm, because you lived in Germany when you were a teenager, um, did the younger generation generally know a lot about the situation of Germany, or were they generally not informed?
No, I think people knew about it because it's physically there. You see the Berlin Wall. There's a museum um, uh, that collects the incidents happening around the wall. No, actually,
잠깐만. 그 teenager
yeah, teenager.
Because you lived in Germany when you were a teenager, do you think that the younger generation generally knew about Germany's situation?
Yeah, because people knew that it's West Berlin, East Berlin, and it's physically there. The physical presence is there. The wall is there. You know that behind the wall there's East Berlin. So it's in the every student psyche, the division between West and East.
How did people trans um, how did Mm, how did people go from East Berlin to West Berlin? I mean, it couldn't have been just everyone was free to go past the border line.
Yeah, there's a wall. Um, West Berliners were free to go, generally free to go, but you need to have a pass to come back to West. East Berliners, they need to have again a permit from East German government to travel to the West. But it's very difficult. You need to. Most of the people who travel to West from East, they were mostly official visas. So basically, no free visas.
At the time, did you know what was globally happening due to the Cold War?
Yes, because you feel that in everyday lives. In West Berlin, the armed forces were stationed, the foreign armed forces were stationed, U.S. Military, British, French forces were there to protect West Berlin from East, who had Soviet Union to protect them from the West from their perspective.
Was living in West Berlin any different from living in a different democratic city such as Seoul or any city in America? Or was it slightly different because the presence of East Berlin and the communist
Yeah.
political
Well,
party?
slightly similar to Seoul because South Korea is divided, um, or Korea is divided between South and North. But compared to any other cities, they are very unique because, again, you have this wall within the city that's divided. So I would say it is more extreme than even South North Korea because this is a city that is divided, and this city is situated in East Germany. So West Berlin, in fact, was surrounded by all of East Germany. So very unique situation.
So you would say that Germany's situation back then when it was divided would be similar to Korea's current situation?
Yes, I think so. Um, but as I said before, because Berlin is a city, they're surrounded by East Berlin. I think even compared with South North Korea, you feel more tense and a little more suffocating because it's a smaller area than South Korea, and you're surrounded.
Did this experience of living in Germany change you as a person in any way?
I think so because when I lived there, it felt like uh, you really feel the effects of Cold War. You feel that as a nation, it's divided nation is sad. And also, you observe from the West those East Germans or East Berliners who have less freedom and less well off, and you just feel that these political tensions and political divisions isn't just good for the people um, and mankind in general.
If there were some things that humanity should remember from the Cold War, what would be few of them? Take away from the Cold War.
Again, question?
좀 어렵나? 네.
다시 한번 해봐. 어디지? 어떤 거지?
13번. Just please like, set it in a different way.
What things should we remember from the
특별히 생각나는 거 없습니다. 그냥
오케이,
너무
아니 해봐.
할수 있어. Do you believe that there are and if do you believe do you think, just, what things do you think humanity should remember from the Cold War?
in Cold War. Well, I think the Cold War is a unnecessary tense creating battle that deters humans in the pursuit of happiness. Just creates a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety, a lot of resources and energy wasted.
Finally, are there any particular incidents that you remember from your time in Germany?
Yeah. There's a near the Berlin Wall. There's a checkpoint where people from west goes to east, and eastern Berliners come to west called the checkpoint Charlie. You have to go to that checkpoint, and right next to the checkpoint there's a museum, and they showcase the example of how some of the East Germans escaped to the west. There are some successful ones and unsuccessful ones. One very interesting case of a success is that this person hid in the trunk of a car, uh, and in the car they had uh, two suitcases adjacent, and they made a hole um, on the adjacent, made a hole to the one side of the suitcase. So he hid in those two suitcases. So from outside, uh, the, the checkpoint guard saw two suitcases just too small for one person fitting in. In fact, he was hiding in those two suitcases. So there's an example of a successful case. There are a lot of pictures where people try to climb the wall and they were shot, and also who try to swim across the river and they're also shot. And there's a telling example of how people wanted to pursue freedom and democracy over communistic and the control society. So it's very moving and telling experience.
So you.
Okay. Good.
Simple.